Thank you, Mr. Jeremiah. If you guys don't know me, my name is Josh Lyons. I've actually been coming here for like 7 years, but on and off after college. Actually lived here for about 22 years, surfing for 9. So I want to get right to it. So when I was 3, my parents actually got divorced. Between being 3 years old to 12, I've had 7 different step families. I moved about between 3 and 12, 22 times. And growing up, my dad was actually taking steroids. He was like really big in bodybuilding. And so when I was like 8, he kind of got a little aggressive. And then so growing up, my grandpa was actually more of a role model. So he was more of a male role model than my dad. And so, there we go. And in this time, I was actually going to Catholic church too. But nothing against Catholics or anything. It was just my experience. So when I was going to Catholic school, like I was having Catholicism shoved down my throat, and so I couldn't really get an opinion of what I wanted to believe. So pretty much when I was between 3 and 12, I was just thinking to myself, what kind of God gives? Tells me, but like with all the stuff going on, I'm a little nervous, but good thing I'm wearing a black shirt, so you guys can't see my sweat. So pretty much when I was between 3 and 12, I was thinking to myself, what kind of God doesn't give me the purpose of having a home, to call actually a home or a family? So I was like, you know what, I'm done. I was an atheist for maybe 2-3 years. And so when I was in middle school, I met another atheist, and we were actually dating for maybe 3 months, and I lost my virginity when I was 14. And so to cope with everything that was going on, I was actually drinking as well, because there was like a good time between when my parents got home, and also like between like middle school as well. Like when I got home from middle school. And so when I went to high school, I actually didn't know anybody else. So when I didn't know anybody else, I sat at this table by myself. When I sat at this table by myself, there was a kid that came up. I was like, hey, can I sit with you? I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And we've sat at the same table for the past year. And so when I got towards July, or June, I think, right before youth camp, when I got toward youth camp, I was actually kind of suicidal with like everything going on. And one day I was like, you know what? Done, and that's that. And so like not even 10 minutes later, I think my friend that was sat at that table actually texted me and said, hey, you want to go to the beach? Yeah, sure, why not? We did. And so since we were 15, we couldn't drive. So his mom drove him, my mom drove me, they got to the beach, and we took a walk. And so I was actually going to tell him before I actually was going to do anything. And he was like, hey, do you want to go to youth camp? I'm like, what's youth camp? It's like, oh yeah, it's this place with high schoolers, like people older, younger, our age. It's like volleyball, could go to a college, like dorms. It's pretty cool. It's like, okay, that's fine. I went. And it was a Christian thing. I was like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Like, and so pretty much every church has like a bad set of people. Well, not a bad set of people, but like, I guess the juvenile, I guess. I was hanging with that group. And when I was hanging with that group, I was just like ignoring what it was Brian Burgess actually. I was hanging with them. I was like hanging with them. And the last day, Brian actually spoke his testimony, like I am now. And he had it for his parents too, and I related a lot to him. And so when he was actually telling me all this, I was like, I related a lot to that. And I didn't know a dad that I couldn't see could love me that much. And so I was actually talking to Brian too. He's like, all the stuff that you went through to get to where you are now. And he said, are you happy where you are now? With a whole bunch of friends and where you learned about God? He's like, yeah, I am. And then he pretty much said the prayers, like, if you want to raise your hand, like, be saved, and I didn't. So if it wasn't for that friend that was at that table, I wouldn't be here right now. This is pretty dope. So when it gets to high school, sophomore year, I was playing soccer with this, I was on JV. There was these twins, named Zach and Max. And so we were, what? Oh, I'm sorry. No, it was Zach and Max. And Max was a freshman varsity, and Zach was on JV with me. And so we actually played soccer together. We were like hanging out. And my grandpa, he actually had cancer and passed away while I was playing soccer. And so, and then Max, there was a lot of stuff going on. He was like putting some weird stuff on Facebook, and he texted me. I texted him saying, you all right? And he said, no, not doing too good. And we were talking, I was talking to God, so do as much as I can. And the next day, like, not the next day, but a month later, he killed himself. So that hit home a lot. It was like having your role model growing up, not a cancer, and then one of your friends killing himself. It like hit home. I was at school for like almost a month. And then one of my friends actually went up to me and saying, hey, you're right? He's like, no, not at all. He actually told me, he's like, I told him everything, and he said that, yeah, it's sad that your grandpa's gone, but you got to cherish the moments that you have with him. You can't regret anything. And I completely agree with that. And so, it's funny. When I was 12 years old, did anybody ever watch Naruto at all? Naruto should put as an anime. Okay, yeah. All right. I actually have this hidden leaf symbol tattooed on my ankle. I actually related a lot to him growing up too, because let's say the beginning of it is the village called the Hidden Leaves, and there was this gigantic like 9-tailed demon like attacking the village, blah blah blah, and the Hokage, which is like pretty much the head of the village, like concealed it in this little baby that was born on the same day, and so he didn't know he had like the demon in him, but growing up, people shunned him. He didn't know why, so he acted up like I did. And he was lonely, like I was, because no one understood what I was going through. And so he just had so much perseverance and determination to be so much better. And then like, he became a Hokage, it was his dream, and he got he got a lot of friends, and like, a lot of the stuff I'm saying right now, you need a lot of perseverance to get through a lot of the stuff, even death. Like, if you can't get past death, if you can get past death, like nothing can stop you through God. And I actually have a Bible verse too. It says, Samuel 12:22, for the sake of his great name, the Lord will not reject his people, because the Lord was pleased to make you his own. Making you his own that hit home, because like you're his own original person. And so after high school, I was just like, oh man, everyone was like going to different colleges, they're working full time, going across the United States, countries, whatever. So I was like, I was working full part-time, going to school, taking like 5 class semester. So like, I guess being by myself, I went back to my old ways. I was like doing my thing. I was smoking weed, drinking, surfing, whatever. I was like hooking up with girls too. And I actually met this one girl. We dated for 2 years. And it was just a lot because she's actually been cheated on before, and so have I. And so like a lot of insecurities with her and me. Didn't work well, but like a lot of things needed to happen to be right and needed to be today. And then after that, I actually hit up a friend like to hang out and talk about everything, because he went through a breakup too. And so when his breakup happened as well, we surfed every day together. And then he introduced me to his friend, and his friends with his friends, and then we've actually had a surf group together, and we've been talking since then to now. And like going through all of that, I don't regret anything, because I'm so glad I have the friends I have now. I actually have a Bible verse too. It's Colossians 3:24. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord, not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your Lord. You are serving the Lord Christ. There's a lot of things going with it too. And then I actually have a quote from one of the anime characters from Naruto. It's from Itachi Uchiha. It says, however strong you become, never seek to bear everything alone. If you do, failure is certain. So you got to perceive everything. You got to just keep having so much determination to actually push forward, to actually have the friends and family you want. And that's about it.
Bruce's turn.
Thanks, Josh.
Right this way. Okay, so that was Mr. Lyons. And here goes Bruce. Do you need a stand? Okay, cool. Oh, no. This one. I'm probably just going to say, that's a bright light. Dang. All right. I'm going to pray real quick. Lord, I just thank you for having the opportunity to speak to all my friends here tonight, Lord. I just pray that your will be done tonight, Lord, that you speak through me, Lord, that you give me the courage, the boldness, and the peace of mind, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen. So like hearing your testimony, it made me feel like really inspired to like talk about mine, because I'm also like I want to get into like the power of testimonies and like the heart behind them.
I grew up just like a normal family. They were a Christian family, but like we never really had like relationship with God. It was just kind of like we just went to church, for like seasons, and then we would fade out, and they would go back, etc. And I had divorced parents growing up, so I was always like flip-flopping between my dad and my mom's, and what is it? Just growing up, I always felt like just like that kid that was like the outcast, like the one that was always alone, that like couldn't fit in for some reason, the butt of the joke, like that was, I just felt like growing up that was me. And as I got older, I eventually found friends through doing drugs. That was kind of like how I started to fit in, because they were all, just like smoking whatever, and again, I was the outcast. I'm like, oh, like, I want to be included, so like I started down that path. But that mixed with like the depression that I was already like kind of like dealing with from growing up, it wasn't a good combo. And then as I got older, I started like self-harming, falling deep into my depression, messing with like cough syrup. And we actually moved here to Florida my senior year of high school. And that kind of sucked because it was just like whatever friends I did have, it was just like totally stripped from me. Like senior year is like that, that year, it's study hall, 4 times throughout the day, like gym, class, you go home. But it was like totally stripped from me, like I had no friends. I had to do all these, sucky classes because I had to make up for their curriculum. It was a lot of hard work. I had nobody. It was like in the peak of when I started just like falling into like more self-harming, messing around with drugs, whatever. And then like I made this one, and she was just like a really good friend of mine. And it was just like suddenly everything kind of like, there was like a light, all this time, like I didn't have any relationship with God. I really couldn't even say I believed in God. So, but it was like that, it's just like, okay, like maybe things will be okay, so like we started talking. She was like my closest friend, and we started like dating, and it was just like, it was like weird, like she couldn't get over, she still had issues with somebody from her past, so we ended up breaking up, and that kind of like really sucked. But I was just like, okay, like I understand, but then like she kind of started dating this other guy while I was still like, so I felt like I was just like, oh, like I'm not good enough. Like what is it? Am I not good looking like him? Like was it something like that I did? Like I just felt like I just wasn't enough, and like it was just like that on top of everything. Like I started messing with DXM pills, and I would literally take like 16, sometimes 32 pills a night, and just like robo-trip like every night just to like escape, like I was just so like distraught. Like I was constantly self-harming, like viciously. Like it was just so destructive. But going down that, I found friends again through drugs. They all smoked pot, they all, did acid, they, did pills, whatever, like, and we would just like go out, we would just like always like try to find a drink, or, like try to find somewhere to smoke weed, and we would just like every night, and that's how like I made friends, and that's how I like connected with people. What is it? There was actually this one night in specific where I like tried overdosing on antidepressants I was taking, and I swear like I died and God like brought me back. But I like overdosed on my antidepressants, and like the next day like I woke up and I was just like, okay, like I still felt like crap. But then I had a friend invite me over, so we went out, we started drinking, and I literally had one beer, and I remember just feeling absolutely terrible and like trying to throw up, and I couldn't throw up, and then like I just blacked out, and I woke up, and I literally swear like it sounded like tongues being spoken over me, and I was just so like dazed, and I was so out of it, and all I remember was seeing my sister with like tears in her eyes, like crying. She's just like, I thought you were dead, like just screaming at me, and I was just so like out of it, and I like looked down, and I just remember like just absolutely being covered like in throw up, you know, like from my head to my feet, you know. And then what is it? Yeah, like they called ambulances, but they canceled that. My dad came, he's, you know, upset with me obviously, you know, like, but like I was still alive, and I swear like God brought me back, you know. But for some reason I didn't learn my lesson. Like I still was just, you know, goofing around, taking drugs, whatever. Like I stayed at this one dude's house for like literally like a year, and like lived with him. And like I couldn't keep a job, like I would try and it wouldn't work out. But like literally like every day, every night we were just drinking. Like, and then my days off, we would literally wake up at like 10 o'clock in the morning, go across to the gas station, buy a couple Four Locos, and be drunk by 11 a.m. You know, like that was like, that's how I coped. Like I was so like distressed and depressed, and like just like drugs and, you know, all that stuff was my escape, you know. And then like, what was it? So I was hanging out with them, and then I found new friends, you know, and that's when I started like just smoking weed every day, doing Xanax, like, why can't I think of the word, cocaine. Like it was just like, it was terrible. It's just like, you know, downward spiral slowly. And like the night I got saved, like me and a buddy, we both did acid together. And it was just like, you know, this is like my boy, like this is like one of my best friends at the time. And like, it was just weird because he just like, he just acted totally different the entire night. And I'm like, what? I'm like, is this the drugs? Am I overreacting? Probably being paranoid, but like, it was just like, it was like malevolent. Like he was like literally like twisted, and it was scary. But like, basically, I'm standing on one side of the counter, and he's standing on the other side of the counter, and there's like a cutout through the wall. And, you know, he starts wrapping up a blunt, and he's taking apart, breaking the Rello, which is like the shell. And he had really long nails, and I just complimented him on his nails. I'm like, I was like, you have really like nice nails. I was like, they're like taken care of, they're clean, like, you know, it's just like, just complimenting. He's like, oh, thanks. He's talking about he takes care of them. He's just like, he had pride in it. And then like, he asked if I wanted to go to the park to smoke it, and I was just like, no, like I really, you know, don't want to. I'd rather smoke it here, you know, because I was a little taken off by how he's been acting. And then he just got really pissed off, and he was just like, you know what? He's like, you rolled the Rello. He's like, you rolled the blunt. And he threw it down. He's just like, my nails are too long for you. I'm just like, what? Like, I'm just, okay, sure. Like, all right, I'll do it. And I started breaking apart this Rello. And like, in my hands, like as I'm breaking this apart, my hands literally started to rot. My hands started to rot, and like it just spread, and I just felt like this pending doom of just like death, and like my hands were rotting, and the ground around me was rotting, and the entire room just started just enveloping with death. And I just heard like, I just had this feeling like that. I look back on now and I feel like they would literally call me Satan. My friends would call me Satan because like we were twisting the Ouija boards. Like I was just so demonic, like it was crazy. But I just heard like Satan, and like I looked up, and I just like, I had this feeling like I just knew like I was being judged right there on the spot. And I just like, I knew I was guilty, like I was being judged and condemned to hell. And all I could think about was just like all I did, you know. And it was just like all there. And I looked at what was my friend, and even he, like his skin was like pure white, and like his eyes just like pitch black. And he was just like, what's wrong, Bruce? He's just like, you don't want to smoke this Rello? He's just like, let's go play some video games, get your mind off of it. He's like, we'll smoke a cigarette, like it'll be okay. He literally put on like this slow Jerry female music, and I felt the entire weight of like my depression, anxiety, fear, like just every dark thing that I had in my flesh. It was just like on top of me, and it was just like, I knew I was going to hell. And I literally remember like watching this video as a kid about like the end times, and it was like there was these grandparents on one side going to heaven, and there was a daughter going to hell, and the grandparents were like, we tried to tell you, like we tried to warn you, and you wouldn't listen. and I was just like, I was hopeless. And like, but I knew that it was just. I didn't say anything, I didn't try to defend myself, I was just like, I'm guilty. But like, it was in that moment, like, where it was just like, all hope was gone, where I just heard this voice, and he's like, you're worth more than this. And just like, my memory just started flooding with Jesus, like, of like all the times I went to church, and like all that he like did for me, and all the seeds like that were sown in my life were just like being watered, you know. And like, as I started thinking about what Jesus did for me, like, the room started slowly filling with life. And it was like, the walls went from like a dying, like, brown muck to like a beautiful, like, ivory green, like, more beautiful than any colors like I've ever seen. Like, it was like, when people talk about the spiritual being more real than here, like it's like, they mean it, because like, it's just like, it's so real, and it's so vivid, and it's insane, but like, it was just so beautiful. And I like looked at what I think was the enemy, and I just said it, I just let out, I was like, Jesus Christ died for my sins, I'm saved. And I literally, like, all that depression and like fear and hatred and weight that I was carrying, the condemnation, it was just like all like just stripped off, you know. Like, it was just like Jesus literally just like took it, you know. And it was just like, I was righteous, and I was just so happy and joyful. And like, it sounds silly, but I'm going to talk about it. There's this cat that's like 17 years old. I love animals, okay? This cat's name was Tangy. And it's sitting on the counter the entire time. And this cat is 17 years old, matted fur, like, looks like it's dying, you know, as is. But like, this cat, like, after like, you know, feeling like I was in like the Garden of Eden in heaven, like, this cat, it literally looked like the sunrise was in this cat's fur. Like, it was just so beautiful, and it was just like, his coat was perfect. And I literally like started hugging that cat and crying, because I'm like, I'm in heaven, like, Jesus just saved me, like, I just want the water, like, yo, this is insane. Like, and then I looked up, and I just remember like, just like clear skin, like wearing like a white suit, and I just like had this feeling it was God. And I just looked at him, and I just said, God? And I was just like, how? Yeah, and I just said like, how long? Like, how long have I strayed from you? Like, when you've been chasing me down this entire time? Like, how long was I chasing things in the world when I could be chasing after you? And like, I literally like tried walking through the counter to hug him, because it was literally just me and him. And like, I hit the counter, and I shook it off. I literally like ran full force into this thing, shook it off, and then like I ran around the counter to hug him. And like, right in that moment, my friend pushed me off of him and ran to the bathroom and threw up, like, instantly. And I was just like, so like, what just happened? I'm like, am I in heaven? Did I just get raptured? I'm like, am I stuck in this apartment forever? Like, what's going on? Yo, like, I was just like, I don't know what's going on. Like, the entire night though, like, I'm trying to like preach my friends like the gospel, and just like share them the love of Jesus. And like, it was literally like, they were trying to tempt me like in every way. Like, they're like, yo, check out this girl on Snapchat. They're like, yo, like, hit the blunt. Like, and like, if I'm being honest, there was one time where I was just like, oh yeah, like, I'm Christian and I can hit the blunt. And I went to hit it, and it literally burned me. Like, it burned me. And I was just like, yeah, it was just like crazy. But like, God would show me all these different things. Like, he just showed me, like, for example, I have this friend named Mackenzie, and like, she was like my absolute best friend. Like, man, like, that was my homie. Like, and I still miss her to this day. And like, she was just like, everyone was making fun of me, but she was just like, Bruce, like, I'm listening. And she just sat down, and she wanted to like talk to me and like listen. And I just looked at her, and it was like, she was a pretty girl, but like, it was like, I looked at her, and it was like, her face was like split in the middle, and it was like, one side was like, she had like pimples, and she had no makeup and frizzy hair, and like, you know, and just like, yeah, like, just like frizzy hair, whatever. And then the other side was like, she was completely done up with like makeup, and her hair was nice, and her skin was flawless. And I was just like, and I looked at her, I was just like, you're beautiful either way. And it was just like, Jesus like doesn't look at appearance with the heart. And it was just like these different things that he was just like showing me, and it was just like mind blowing. But like, yeah, it was just like literally like Holy Spirit's like boop, like you know, like you get the whole package. So like, yeah, glory be to God, because like literally like he could have left me there, but he didn't, you know. So it's just like, after that I still struggled because like I didn't change my lifestyle. But I knew it was real, and I defended it, like, no matter what, because they were constantly making fun of me. Like, I didn't leave going to their house, but, like, they were constantly making fun of me. My friends were like, yo, he called me God, like, what up, like, you know, and, you know, they're like, oh, it's just the drugs, dude, like, I'm like, no, like, it was more than that, and I know it was more. And it, like, for, like, a month, I still was just, like, in the same cycle. I wouldn't do anything crazy. I was just like, smoking weed, whatever. And I was sitting on the porch, the patio, smoking a cigarette with the same friend, and he looked at me and he's just like, dude, he's like, I have the nicest cocaine. He's like, it's right off the 8-ball. He's just like, I'll give you a free bump, dude. He's just like, I'll give you a free bump, like, don't worry about it. He's like, we'll get more later if you really like it, dude. He's just like, and then, you know, we'll go from there. And I felt that same, like, condemnation pit, like, in, like, my heart, and it was just like, God was like, you gotta make a choice. He's like, you're going to keep staying in the life, you're going to follow me. And I told my friend, I was just like, nah, dude, I'm not doing it. Like, and like, I went in my friend's car and left after that. Because I'm like, yo, I'm done. Like, I'm getting away from this dude. I don't know what's up with him. But like, and I literally felt the full weight and presence of God in the car. And like, it was crazy because like this like music of just like, people, I'm sorry if you think I'm crazy, but like, it's just like insane how God talks to people sometimes because he's so real. And he wants to just like reveal himself to you because like he is a personal God, you know. And I felt like the full weight and presence of God in the car, and like I heard like this like love music came on the radio, and like God literally showed me there was 3 churches on that street that I was going to every day to go party with my friends. And God's like, dude, like I was literally like, there's like signs of like, you know, like verses and stuff like that, but you don't see it until God reveals it to you. But like God's still like calling you, you know, because he wants you to see it, but you have to also want it. But like, you know, after that though, I have been free from self-harming. That's been at least 1.5 years, like almost 2 years, yeah. Glory be to God, because like I'm free from self-harming. Literally like a month or 2 after that, I quit smoking weed and haven't smoked a drug, done a drug since. I quit smoking cigarettes probably a month after that. And even then, like I went back to smoking for a period, but God again took it again, no withdrawal symptoms. Like he took it from me twice. So it's like going into the power of testimonies. So testimonies in their very nature are prophetic, because testimonies are the work of God in your life and what he has done, not only in your life, but someone else's too. And what prophecy is, it has the ability to not only tell the future, but change present events. So if God does something, you know, God is always willing to do it again in somebody else's life. You know, our testimonies are very similar. So it's like if God's done it in your life, in my life, like he'll do it in anyone's life here, he'll do it in anyone's life that's watching. Like, you know, like he is a God that wants to do it again. You know, so it's like, oh yeah, the Hebrew root for testimony is literally do it again. So it's like when you tell your testimony, yeah, when you share that, you actually, you know, give the promise that God wants to do it again, and when people receive that, they can do it. God can do it again. So, yeah, that's my testimony.